and how this journey began and what have you, so you don't have to hear me say it during my presentation. So again, let's give ourselves a round of applause for being here, showing up. So important for people to show up, okay? And even though there's not that many people here, just the solidarity of, you're filling a seat and one less empty seat is really important because, coming together is the most important part of these kind of things, is to show the solidarity and to come together and to tell your neighbors and your friends what you learned here today and whatnot. So my name is Matt Landman. I'm from Virginia. I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C., went to Virginia Tech, worked in finance, worked in business, moved to L.A. with a dream of becoming a filmmaker. I went up to Northern California, got a film degree, got a master's in business, and I ended up working out on a farm. And on this farm is where I woke up to chemtrails and my entire life changed. I was working on a squash and potato farm. Hi, Patrick, nice to see you. I was working, and Kathy, yay! Cool, so people are still showing up. I worked on an organic squash and potato farm. Literally wanted to get grounded, wanted to learn about farming. And I was out there in Northern California during the worst drought we'd seen in thousands of years. This was 4 years ago now. And we were thankful for this expected seasonal deluge. We had a big storm coming in. The forecast was 100% chance of rain for a week. The frogs and salamanders from underneath my house, I had amphibious creatures living under my house, they all came out ready for this storm system. And where I lived is on the coast. I could see the black clouds coming in. Huge storm system. Okay, and as you know here, in the winter, you guys get your 4 months of straight rain. Same thing where I lived in Northern California. Well, during this specific instance, I witnessed out on the farm, whereas usually there was a very sparse amount of air traffic. I'm out there all day long. I see a few planes go by a day, and never had I ever witnessed anything like this. I witnessed on the edge of a very large storm system, a dozen planes come, and they gridded the sky. They tic-tac-toe boarded the sky, similar to this image up here on your right. Okay, after which the sky turned into a haze, and again they came back and they gridded the sky one more time before the storm system hit. The storm system, these black clouds come overhead. I'm wearing rain boots, rain jacket, harvesting pumpkins so that the pumpkins wouldn't rot out in the field because we were expecting this early October rain. And not a drop of rain fell from this storm. Okay? And I went on with my normal life, but I did have this in my memory bank. Something had happened that day. And I go on, and again I witnessed this one more time. We were supposed to get rain. We were in a 6-year drought. And we hadn't had our seasonal storm for that duration. And on the edge of the storm, like I said, the grid pattern, the clouds, the persistent linear cirrus cloud formations from the back of the jets, they seem to have dissipated the rainfall, prevented the rainfall from coming. And one day, a few months later, someone said to me, "Oh man, look at those chemtrails." And I said, what do you mean? And they go, "Oh, well, you've never heard of that? You're into GMOs and all this, Matt. You've never heard of chemtrails?" And I go, no. What are you talking about? And they're like, "Yeah, the jets, they spray you with stuff or whatever." And I'm like, "What? No, they don't." So I looked it up. I started doing some research, and I had that one moment in my head, but my cognitive dissonance had placed this memory aside. There's nothing to see there. Nothing could have happened on that day. But I started watching the clouds, watching the skies, and I realized that something did occur that day, that the air traffic was abnormal, and not just the air traffic was abnormal, but all these persistent linear clouds in the sky on that day ahead of that storm, something had occurred. And during my research, I learned that you can seed clouds by using silver iodide, and they've been doing it for a long time. We're going to learn about that. We've got these wonderful couple from Calgary, from Canada. They drove 15 hours to be here with us. They're going to talk about the weather modification history. Let's give them a round of applause. Dominic and Jolene. Okay. And also, there's the opposite of seeding clouds. okay? If you put silver iodide in the atmosphere, the water molecules, they attach to this. They attach to the silver iodide, they get heavy and they fall. Well, you can also do the exact opposite by spraying aluminum. Okay, aluminum dissipates clouds. So I witnessed this repeatedly during this drought season, and it was my my wake up. And I started printing out flyers and getting involved, and I always had this little, demon on my shoulder saying, don't do this is stupid, people are going to think you're crazy. And literally, I had to convince myself daily to go back to that one day on the farm. And that one day I did witness something very spectacular, very abnormal, and it was drought creation. So from research, I realized that there's not just weather manipulation, but now there's this plan to solar geoengineer our skies to slow down global warming. There's weather warfare. There's all of these different chemical concoctions that they can put in the sky to modify our weather. And so it started there. And I didn't get any traction until I did this for 2 years, passing out flyers, putting on presentations in front of 3 people. And literally, I got no traction until I moved to Vancouver, Canada, and I met up with some gentlemen there that were these 9/11 truther guys that were twice my age. And I'm 36. And I became friends with them. And I said, I really want to get this documentary together. I really want to make a film about this, explaining this to everyone, because it's this complicated issue, and not everybody looks up, and not everybody sees the correlations, So I was lucky enough to interview Bill Vander Zalm, the former Prime Minister of British Columbia. And from there, I started amassing film equipment, and I finished my film Frankensky, which I'll be premiering this evening, if you're patient enough to be here that long, and I hope you are, at 6:15, 6:30, because we're a little late. And, I then hosted the first annual Global Chemtrail Summit in Vancouver last year, May 7th. And here we are on the 1-year anniversary in Portland. Unfortunately, the turnout's not as good as it was in Vancouver, but I'm really, really happy that anyone and everyone did come. I placed an ad in the Willamette Weekly. I did radio slots, passed out thousands of flyers, spoke to thousands of people, and luckily enough, we got some attendance. The thing is with attendance is this current generation, they're all online and they're all in their phones, and they want it, even if they live on campus, they want to just watch it streamed live to them. And they're not from our parents' generation that actually did something, They did something and they made change. And they don't feel empowered enough to think that they can actually make a change, I've spoken to so many kids about this, and still, I only see a couple that are younger than me in this crowd. So I really want to say thank you, and the next time we do this, bring a friend, bring the whole neighborhood. But I can't stress enough that please stick around, and you're going to learn a lot today. So thanks again, and I think that we're going to be able to get this. How are we doing? We're looking good? No. Well, why don't we just go off a thumb drive? But we're recording this, and it'll be put up online at least. Thank you so much for the videographer. And we're getting clean sound directly to the camera? Gorgeous. Very nice. So we're going to take a... I can keep talking. Yeah, sure. Let's do that. Who wants to talk? Who wants to tell us how they woke up to chemtrails? Or who's going to leave here a believer who's a denier now? I want to know that.
Noticing that the clouds seem different, like they used to be puffed like cotton balls when I was a kid, and now they're more spread out or wispier, thinner, something.
It takes a trained eye to really see it, because unless you see the lines come out of the planes and you watch the time lapse over an hour, it's hard to see the aerosol and know that that's chemicals, but you have a nice trained eye, it sounds like. Where are you from?
I grew up in north of Manhattan, but I've lived in Portland since 1972, and it's cool you said that because I'm legally blind. I have congenital cataracts, so it was nice of you to say that about my vision.
So you can see it well even though you're partially blind.
Oh, yeah, well, the legal blindness means I can't drive, but
Right.
I can see for...
So when you're in your process of waking people up and you say wake up, look up, and speak up, you can talk about this young woman. What's your name? I'm sorry.
My name's Mary Luce. I'm 63.
Mary Luce.
I don't care about who knows my age.
Mary Luce is 63. She's awake to chemtrails. Thank you so much for having us.
Because you talked about other
My name's Susan Klein. I'm an artist in Eugene. I woke up about 15 years ago after watching a show that was an underground show out of Vegas called Out There TV. They were talking about this back then. A couple of years ago, my girlfriend and I were a part of a movement that was around the United States and the world called Look Up, Wake Up. We have been trying to talk to people about this. The response is always a conspiracy theory. And, more people are coming on board. I have a Facebook page, Eugene Citizens Against Geoengineering. The best thing you can do is keep talking to people.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeff. I just live across the river, and I don't know if my schedule changed or if the people that do this have changed their schedule. I don't know if they've changed the schedule or if it was me, but I noticed it like that or worse the summer before last and the summer before that. Last summer and so far this year, I haven't noticed it as much, but I just live right over here, and I heard that because they were changing the program, or maybe I just didn't see it, but the summer before last and the summer before that, every day in the summertime, every day, it was like that, every freaking day, right over across the river, Vancouver, Washington.
Hi, I'm Sue Hiscox from Victoria, BC, Canada. I'll just mention that my dad was an airplane designer. He did the bush planes, the Beaver, and so on with a team from de Havilland's. But I know the difference between vapor trails and contrails. And after I saw 2 films by Michael J. Murphy on what in the world are they spraying, why in the world are they spraying, together with a group called wearechange.ca in Victoria, we put out our own version, and we've seen so many chemtrails up there. 2 days ago, I watched a thin strip widen out and totally create a milky, cloudy covering that blotted out the sun as usual. My main concern after reading Alana Freeland's book is that the jet stream is also being interfered with so that it goes in meandering loops that cause extreme weather now in various all of us. And the jet stream, which moves from the west to the east, is now getting stuck in these loops, and we're getting extreme weather, so the farmers can't plant and so on. So it's very important that we talk about this with our neighbors.
Thank you. From Victoria, Canada. And it's worth mentioning that in Abbotsford, they had the Tulip Festival just recently, and because of your weather patterns up there, the tulips have no idea what's going on. They're not bloomed. 3 million tulips are usually bloomed during the Tulip Festival. In southern BC, none of them were bloomed this year. It's sad. I'm going to do 2 more speakers, and then if we're not ready, I'm going to give my presentation.
Thank you. Good. Hi, my name's Joel Garvin. I live here in Portland, Oregon. I woke up to this in the late 90s. I had always traveled all over North and South America as a consultant, flew a lot, always had the OAS flight guideline for all commercial flights. Started to notice all these trails in the sky and was trying to correlate those with any commercial flights, especially those that might go over Portland, and could find none of that. There was absolutely no correlation, which said these were not commercial airliners. So I started to call the various meteorologists at the news channels here, television, getting very unusual responses, like I would describe myself, hi, I'm a chemist, been noticing this phenomenon, would you please just go and look out your office window right now at this guy? If you're gonna get me to try to talk about chemtrails, not go in there, click. Like that, I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I called the military desk up at Boeing Field, which actually, there's a civilian who operates that, and I said, I'm wondering what's going on here with all these trails in the sky. And that person just said, if there's something going on that's military in nature, and then I started to call the flight control towers at various airports, and one of them actually at PDX said, no, this is going on above commercial airspace, which would mean military. I know nothing else. Well, eventually I made my way to Washington, D.C., and I happened to be at Reagan Airport there. And I was just getting ready to get back on my flight to come back to Portland. And I heard a couple of guys next to me talking, which made it sound like they were from NASA. So I just went over and introduced myself, and I said, hey, I just heard you talking, you're from NASA. I said, can I ask you what division you're in? And they said, well, we do satellite imaging. And I said, oh, well, this is very curious. I said, I've been noticing a lot of these trails in the sky, and, I haven't been able to piece together any real solid information on this. The older of the two gentlemen immediately peels off, just walks away, not a word. The younger guy, probably in his early 30s, he says, well, can you tell me some more about that? And I said, well, yeah. I said, I noticed that these aren't commercial airliners because I've done some checking on that and this and that. And I said, can you tell me anything about this? Because obviously, if you do satellite image analysis, you can see these things. And he says, well, I can tell you this is a military operation. And it's been going on for quite some time. And I gave him my card, and I said, I would love to talk to you some more about this. And I said, could I have your card? And he says, oh, no, NASA's too cheap. They don't give us cards. So anyway, that just solidly corroborated that this was going on for a long time. There's definitely something going on here. Probably like most of you, I feel great indignation every time I see these things going on, especially when we're supposed to have these pristine blue skies here in Oregon, which are rare and a real treat. So anyway, that's my background in that.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to get one more person, and then I'm going to, two more people.
Oh, hey, I'm Paul. My experience is just being out in the sun. I grew up in the flight path from San Francisco to LA, lying out in the sun all year round. Sometimes even in January, there's beautiful days out surfing in Santa Cruz, in construction. So just until about 20 years ago, when I first saw grid patterns when I was up in the Sierras. So there was never that way. I was in the sun looking up. If a cloud went by, we would get pissed off, oh shoot, because we want to get tan. Now those go by, and that's when you just notice it when you're lying on the sun. Like now the whole day turned from beautiful blue to hazy, and just love being here. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Charles Owen. I'm from Beaverton, Oregon, and I woke up about this about 5 years ago when I was watching a few different Alex Jones documentaries, which, by the way, I think those are the things that we should focus on most when it comes to the topic of Alex Jones, because it's a really convenient way to wake people up, which are his documentaries that are 4 years old or older, because they cover a lot of this and a lot of corruption on both sides of the political spectrum and all that. And what I wanted to say was a very useful tool you can use to wake people up, and I've done this dozens of times myself to random strangers and family members and friends, which is whenever a condensation trail from a regular airliner goes by, and at the same time a chemtrail is going by, all you need to do is just point at whoever's on the street next to you and say, hey, look at that. You notice how the trail is dissipating after about 15 seconds with that one, but then that one way over there, what's the difference between the two? And so you can use that as a tool to wake people up on a daily basis.
Just get them thinking, right? That's important. How are we doing? You guys ready?